All right, so today we're building a Shopify store from scratch. And not one of those fake tutorial stores where the product is called test product. The homepage says, "Welcome to our store." And the whole thing looks like it was abandoned halfway through by someone who suddenly remembered they had laundry to do. We're going to make this feel like an actual store. Because here's the thing with Shopify. From the outside, it looks very simple. When you hear start an online store, and your brain goes, okay, cool. Upload a product, pick a color, become a business owner by dinner, and then you open the Shopify dashboard for the first time, and suddenly there are products, collections, themes, shipping zones, payment settings, menus, policies, apps, domains, analytics, checkout settings. And at some point, you're just staring at the screen like Shopify personally asked you to solve a puzzle. But don't worry, it's not actually hard once you understand the order. That's the key. Most beginners get stuck because they start in the wrong place. They jump straight into designing the homepage before adding products, or they start changing fonts before they even know what they're selling. Or they install 7 apps because one YouTube video said this app changed everything. And now the store has more pop-ups than an illegal movie website. So in this video, I'm going to slow everything down and show you the proper beginner-friendly way to set up a Shopify store step by step. We'll create the store, get familiar with the dashboard, add real looking products, create collections, customize the theme, build the homepage, set up the navigation, create important pages, add policies, look at payments and shipping, check the mobile version, connect a domain, and go through the basic things you should test before launching. And for the demo, we're going to use a simple home fitness store called Fit Lane Essentials. So instead of building an empty store with random placeholder text, we'll use products that actually make sense, like resistance bands, yoga mats, recovery rollers, gym gloves, and home workout accessories. Then we'll organize those into collections like bestsellers, home workout gear, recovery tools, and accessories. That way, as we build the store, everything feels connected and realistic instead of looking like Shopify and Lorem Ipsum had a baby. Now, to follow along, the first link in the description will take you to Shopify's current trial offer. Depending on when you're watching this, Shopify may have a $1 trial or another beginner offer available. So that's usually the easiest way to start without paying full price right away. That link is an affiliate link, so I may earn a commission at no extra cost to you, but it helps support the channel and lets me keep making these step-by-step tutorials. I'll also mention a few optional tools as we go. Kiddle can be useful for creating logos and banners. Namecheap can help with finding a domain name. Mania can help with e-commerce product research. And Envato Market is one place people use to find premium Shopify themes. But please don't feel like you need to collect tools like Pokemon before you build your first store. Shopify is the main thing here. The rest are just helpful extras depending on what you're trying to create. And just to set expectations properly, your first Shopify store does not need to look like a billion-dollar brand on day one. It just needs to be clear, trustworthy, easy to browse, and functional. Customers should understand what you sell, see decent product photos, find your collections, read your policies, add items to cart, and checkout, without feeling like they're navigating a government website from 2009. Fancy animations and advanced sales funnels can come later. First, we build the foundation. This is going to be a proper walkthrough, so it may take a little while. Not 3-hour documentary with dramatic music, long, but long enough to actually show the steps instead of rushing through everything and leaving you with more questions than answers. So open Shopify in another tab, grab some water or coffee, and follow along at your own pace. Creating your Shopify account. All right, so the first thing we need to do is create the Shopify account. And thankfully, this part is pretty simple, which is nice because later on, Shopify will start introducing us to menus inside other menus. So I'm here on the Shopify homepage, and from here, I'm just going to click the Start for Free button up in the top right corner. You might also see wording like Start Free Trial, depending on when you're watching, but it's the same idea. We just want to begin the sign-up process, and once I click that, Shopify takes us to the sign-up page. On my screen, it says Start Your Free Trial, and underneath that, it shows the current offer, which in this case is 3 days free, then 3 months for $1 a month. So if you were wondering where the trial actually shows up, it's right here on this page. Now, from here, Shopify gives us a few ways to continue. The main option is to enter your email address and click Continue with Email. You'll also notice there are other sign in options below, like Google, Apple, and Facebook. So if that's easier for you, you can use one of those instead. And if you already have a Shopify account, there's also a login link down here. So you don't accidentally create a brand new account when you were really just trying to get back into the old one. Always a fun little surprise if you're not paying attention. You'll also notice there's a country drop down near the bottom of the page. Mine is set to the United States here, but yours should match your actual country because that can affect things like payment options, store defaults, and parts of the setup process later on. So this is one of those tiny details that's easy to ignore, but it's worth checking now before you get too far in. And that's really it for this step. Nothing complicated yet, no scary e-commerce decisions, no shipping zones, no tax settings, no existential crisis over whether your store name sounds premium or like a protein bar. Right now, we're just getting through the front door. For this walkthrough, I'm going to keep it simple and go with the email option. So I'll type in my email address, click Continue with Email, and then Shopify will move us into the next part of setup. Okay, so after entering our email, Shopify brings us to this screen where we need to create a password for the account. You can see the email is already filled in at the top. And if you entered the wrong one, you can click Change right here. So I'll create a strong password, and Shopify says it needs to be at least 8 characters. Once the password's added, the Create Account button should become active. Then I'll click Create Account, and Shopify will take us into the next part of the store setup. Now, Shopify may show this subscription screen before taking us into the store. On my screen, it says Start for free, Stay for $1, and it shows the trial details on the left. So here, you can either add your payment method using PayPal or a card if you want to activate the offer right away. Or if your screen shows a skip button like mine does, you can click Skip for now and continue setting up the store first. For this tutorial, I'm going to skip this step for now so we can get into the Shopify dashboard and start building the actual store. Now, Shopify asks what we want help with. This is just Shopify trying to tailor the setup, so don't overthink it. For this demo store, I'm going to choose Sell Online because we're building a normal e-commerce store where customers can browse products and check out on the website. If you're doing dropshipping, selling in person, selling digital products, or moving an existing store, you can select those options too. Once the right option is selected, I'll click Continue, and Shopify will move us to the next setup step, understanding the Shopify dashboard. All right, and now we are officially inside the Shopify dashboard. This is basically the control room for the entire store. This is where we'll add products, manage orders, customize the website, set up payments, adjust shipping, connect a domain, install apps, and do all the slightly boring but very necessary things that make the store actually work. Now, the first time you land here, Shopify gives you this welcome screen that says, where do you want to start? And you'll also see a few setup cards like add your first product, choose your store design, set up payments, name your store, get a custom domain, and review shipping rates. These are helpful because they give you a rough checklist, but we're not going to blindly follow them in whatever order they appear. Shopify is trying to be helpful, but we're going to use a slightly more practical order for building a real store. The reason is simple. Before we spend time designing the homepage, we need actual products and collections inside the store. Otherwise, we'll open the theme editor, and all the product sections will be empty, which is not exactly the premium e-commerce experience we're going for. So the order we'll follow is first understand the dashboard, then add products, then create collections, then customize the theme and homepage around those products. That way, when we start designing, the store already has something real to show. On the left side, this sidebar is where most of your Shopify work happens. Right now, we're on Home, which is the dashboard area. Under that, we have Orders, and that's where customer orders will appear once people start buying. Then we have Products, which is where we'll add all the items for our store. Customers is where Shopify keeps customer details after people purchase or sign up. Growth, discounts, content, markets, finance, and analytics are all useful areas too, but we don't need to live in all of them immediately. This is a beginner setup, not a mission to click every menu item just because it exists. Then under sales channels, we have online store, and this is one of the most important areas for this tutorial. This is where we'll manage the actual website part of the store, including the theme, pages, navigation, and preferences. You may also see other sales channels depending on your account, like this agentic option here, or other channels if Shopify adds or recommends them. For now, our focus is the online store because we're building a normal e-commerce website. Lower down, we have apps where you can install extra tools later. And then at the bottom, we have settings. Settings is where a lot of the important behind the scenes setup lives, like payments, shipping, store details, policies, and notifications. Basically, if something feels important and slightly intimidating, there's a decent chance it lives in settings. At the top, we also have this search bar. This is actually useful because Shopify has a lot of areas, and sometimes searching is faster than digging through the sidebar like you're looking for a lost sock. So later, if you forget where something is, you can use the search bar to find products, settings, pages, apps, and other parts of the store. You'll also notice the trial reminder on the left and near the top, showing the current Shopify offer and the option to select a plan. We don't need to choose the plan right this second. We can build and configure the store first, then come back to the plan when we're closer to launching. Just remember that before you properly publish and run the store, Shopify will eventually need an active plan. So that's the quick dashboard tour. The main things to remember are products live under products, the website design lives under online store, important business setup lives under settings, and Shopify's homepage cards are useful, but we're going to follow our own build order so the store comes together properly. How to add your first product in Shopify. All right, now that we've had a quick look around the dashboard, the first real thing I want to do is add products. And I know Shopify is showing us a bunch of setup cards here, like choosing a theme, setting up payments, naming the store, and getting a domain. But for this tutorial, I want to start with products first. The reason is simple. It is much easier to design a good-looking store when there are actual products inside it. Otherwise, we'll go into the theme editor, start customizing the homepage, and every section will be empty. And then we're basically decorating a store with no shelves, no products, and just vibes. So before we touch the homepage design, let's add a few real-looking products. On the left sidebar, I'm going to click Products. This is where Shopify stores everything we plan to sell. Later, once the store is live, this is also where you'll come back to edit product details, update prices, manage inventory, add images, create variants, and clean things up when you realize one product title is way too long and looks like it was written by a search engine. Once we're inside the product section, I'll click Add Product. For this demo store, remember we're building FitLane Essentials, a home fitness accessories store. So instead of adding something boring like test product, we're going to create a product that actually fits the store. The first field we have here is the title, and this is the name customers will see on the product page in collections and around the store. So for our first product, I'm going to add something that actually fits our home fitness brand. Let's use Coreflex Resistance Band Set. And this is important. Keep the product title clear. Don't write something like Premium Elastic Exercise Workout, Home Gym Resistance Band Set for men-women fitness training. That title is technically saying a lot, but emotionally it feels like someone dropped a bag of keywords on the keyboard. A clean name like Coreflex Resistance Band Set looks much better and feels more like a real product. Next, we have the description box. This is where we explain what the product is, who it's for, and why someone would actually want it. A beginner mistake is only listing features, like includes 5 bands or made with durable material. Those details are useful, but customers also want to know what the product helps them do. So for this product, we could write something like build strength at home without bulky gym equipment. The Coreflex Resistance Band Set gives you multiple resistance levels for warm-ups, workouts, stretching, and travel-friendly training. Whether you're just getting started or adding extra resistance to your routine, this set makes home workouts simple and flexible. That already feels more useful because it connects the product to the customer's actual goal. And this is where AI prompts can save you a lot of time. For example, you can use ChatGPT to generate product descriptions, benefit bullets, FAQs, objection handling sections, product page copy, and even homepage content. But the key is using the right prompt. A vague prompt gives you vague copy, and vague copy is how you end up with product descriptions that sound like, "This product is designed to enhance your lifestyle." Very inspiring, very cardboard. For this tutorial, I'm using the same kind of e-commerce prompt workflow we've used before for Shopify stores. And we actually packaged a full ChatGPT prompt pack for Shopify that helps generate things like brand names, color palettes, homepage copy, product descriptions, FAQs, guarantees, and product page sections. So I'll leave that linked in the description as well for anyone who wants a shortcut instead of writing every prompt from scratch. But even with prompts, don't just copy and paste blindly. Use the AI output as a first draft, then read it, clean it up, and make sure it actually matches the product you're selling. Next, we have media, and this is where we upload the product images. For FitLane Essentials, I want the products to look real and clean, so I'm not going to leave this empty or use random blurry placeholder images. Product photos are one of the biggest trust signals on an e-commerce store because customers can't touch the product before buying. So the images have to do some of the selling for us. Now, don't just grab random pictures from Google and throw them into your store. Google Images is not a free product photo library. A lot of those images belong to other stores, photographers, brands, suppliers, or stock websites. For a real store, use your own product photos, approved supplier images, licensed stock photos, or assets you have permission to use. Since this is just a demo store, I'm going to use a few clean sample images from Pexels so we can show how the media upload works and make the store look more complete. They may not be perfect e-commerce product shots, but they're good enough for demonstrating the setup. For your real store, make sure the images accurately represent the actual product customers will receive, because nice photos are great, but angry refund emails are less fun. So for this Coreflex resistance band set, I'll upload a main image that clearly shows the workout bands, and then I can add a couple of extra lifestyle style images showing home fitness equipment or someone training. The goal is to make the product page feel more believable than just one lonely image sitting there like it got separated from its group. To upload the image, I'll click Add Files here in the media section, choose the image from my computer, and wait for Shopify to upload it. Once it's uploaded, Shopify will show it inside the product media area. If you add multiple images, the first image usually becomes the main product image, so put your clearest and best looking image first. That's the one customers will often see on the product page, collection pages, and product cards around the store. Later, when we add more products, I'll do the same thing for the yoga mat, foam roller, dumbbells, and other FitLane products. And once we move into the homepage and collection design, we can use some of these same clean fitness style images to make the store feel more consistent. Now below that, we have the category field. Since this is a fitness product, I'd choose a category related to sporting goods, exercise, or fitness equipment, depending on what Shopify shows. This helps Shopify understand what kind of product this is and can support things like search, filters, taxes, and product organization. On the right side, we have the status box. Right now, it's set to active, which means the product can be published once the store is ready. If you're still working on the product and don't want it visible yet, you can switch it to draft. But for this demo, I'll leave it active because we want to see our products inside the store later when we customize the theme. Then we have product organization, and this is where we can keep things tidy. For the product type, I might use resistance bands. For the vendor, I can use FitLane Essentials. For collections, we'll later add this product to something like home workout gear or bestsellers. And for tags, I could add simple labels like resistance bands, home workout, strength training, and fitness accessories. Now, if we scroll down, we get to price. This is where we enter what the customer will pay. For the Coreflex resistance band set, we might price it at something like $24.99. And if we want to show it as discounted, we can use the compare at price option, maybe setting that to $39.99. That tells Shopify to display the product as being on sale. Just don't overdo this on every single product, because if everything is always on sale forever, customers start giving your store the side eye. Next, we have inventory. Since this is a physical product, I'll turn on inventory tracking and add a quantity. For example, we could add 50 units for now. This tells Shopify how many we have available, and it helps prevent selling more than we actually have. You can also add a SKU if you're organizing products more seriously, but for a beginner store, we can keep that simple. Then we have shipping. Since this is a physical product, this option should stay turned on. Here we can add the product weight and package details. For something like resistance bands, the weight would be fairly light, but we still want to enter something realistic because shipping settings can use this information later. After that, we have variants. This is where we'd add options like color, size, resistance level, or bundle type. For this product, we could have variants like light, medium, heavy, or maybe different color sets, but for the first product, I'll keep it simple. If you're brand new, don't create a complicated variant setup unless the product actually needs it. Near the bottom, we also have search engine listing, which controls how this product may appear in search results. We can come back to that later, but once the main product details are ready, it's worth adding a clean SEO title and description so the product doesn't show up with random unfinished text. Once everything looks good, I'll click Save at the top. And make sure you do save, because Shopify is showing this unsaved product message for a reason. Nothing builds character quite like filling out a product page and then accidentally leaving without saving. But let's avoid that kind of personal growth today. So that's our first FitLane Essentials product added. Next, I'm going to repeat this same process for a few more products, like a FlexForm yoga mat, Recovery Pro foam roller, Grip Fit training gloves, and adjustable home dumbbell set. I won't make you watch every single one in full detail, because watching product forms being filled out one by one is how tutorials turn into bedtime stories. But the process is the same: title, description, images, price, inventory, shipping, organization, and save. A few moments later, once we have several FitLane products added, we'll organize them into collections like bestsellers, home workout gear, recovery tools, and accessories. That's when the store starts feeling like a proper e-commerce website instead of a lonely product page floating in the Shopify admin. How to create product collections in Shopify. All right, now that we have our FitLane products added, the next step is to organize them into collections. Collections are basically product groups, so instead of every product sitting in one random list, we can organize the store into sections like bestsellers, home workout gear, recovery tools, and bundles. And this matters because collections are what we'll use later on the homepage, in the navigation menu, and on the storefront. So when someone visits FitLane Essentials, they're not just seeing a random pile of workout products. They can browse by category, which makes the store feel cleaner and much easier to shop. So on the left side under products, I'm going to click collections. On my screen, Shopify already has a couple of collections here, including bestsellers and homepage. Depending on your store, you might see something similar, or you might have a completely empty collections page. Either way, we're going to create our own collections so they actually match the store we're building. To create a new one, I'll click Add Collection in the top right corner. Now, Shopify brings us to the collection setup page, and the first thing we need is the collection title. For this first collection, I'm going to call it Home Workout Gear, because this will include products people can use for actual training at home, like the Core Flex Resistance Band Set and the FlexForm Yoga Mat. Under that, we have the description box. You don't need to write a full essay here. A simple sentence or two is enough. For example, I could write something like simple fitness essentials for building a stronger home workout routine, from resistance training to daily movement. That gives the collection a little context without making it sound like we hired a motivational speaker to describe a yoga mat. Next, we have the collection type. Shopify gives us manual and smart. Manual means we choose the products ourselves, one by one. Smart means Shopify automatically adds products based on conditions like product type, tag, vendor, price, or other rules. For a beginner store like this, I'm going to keep it on manual because we only have a few products and I want full control over what goes inside each collection. Now, under the products section, I can either search for products directly or click Browse. When I click Browse, Shopify opens this pop-up showing the products we added earlier, like Core Flex Resistance Band Set, FitLane Home Training Bundle, FlexForm Yoga Mat, and Recovery Pro Foam Roller. For the home workout gear collection, I'll select the products that actually fit. So I'd choose the resistance bands and yoga mat. And if you added dumbbells, you could add those here too. Then I'll click Add. You'll also see this sort option where Shopify lets you choose how products appear inside the collection. It can sort by things like best selling, product title, highest price, lowest price, newest, oldest, or manually. For now, I'll keep it simple. If you want full control over the order, choose manually, but for a beginner setup, the default sorting is fine while we're still building the store. On the right side, we have the publishing box. This shows where the collection can appear, like the online store, point of sale, or shop, depending on what channels are connected. Since we're building an online store, the most important one here is online store. If you click Manage, Shopify lets you control which sales channels this collection is available on. For this tutorial, I'll keep the online store enabled so we can use the collection on the website later. Below that, we have the collection image. This is where you can upload an image that represents the collection. For home workout gear, we can use a clean fitness image, maybe showing workout equipment, a yoga mat, or home training setup. Collection images are useful because later, when we add collection cards to the homepage, the store looks much more complete than if every collection has a blank image icon. Blank collection images are not illegal, but emotionally they are a little disappointing. Then we have the theme template, and for now I'll leave this as default collection. Later, if you're using a theme with multiple collection templates, you could choose a different layout, but for this beginner setup, the default template is perfectly fine. Near the bottom, there's also a search engine listing section. This controls how the collection might appear in search engines. We don't need to spend too much time on it right now, but later you can add a clean SEO title and description so the collection looks better if it shows up in search. Once everything is filled out, I'll click Save. And just like with products, make sure you save the collection before leaving the page, because Shopify does not reward bravery when you forget to save. Now, I'm going to repeat this process for a few more FitLane collections. I'll create recovery tools for the Recovery Pro foam roller, bundles for the FitLane home training bundle, and I'll also update bestsellers, so it includes the products we want to feature on the homepage. Since this is a demo store, bestsellers doesn't mean we have actual sales data yet. It just means these are the products we want to highlight first. So after this, we'll have a proper structure for the store: home workout gear, recovery tools, bundles, and bestsellers. And once those collections are ready, designing the homepage becomes much easier because we can pull these collections directly into sections instead of designing around empty space and hope. All right, now we have our main FitLane collections created: the bundles, bestsellers, recovery tools, and home workout gear. And this is exactly what we need before moving into the store design, because later we'll use these collections on the homepage, in the menu, and across the storefront. Before we move on, let me quickly show you how collection management works, because at some point you may create a collection by mistake, or Shopify may create one automatically that you don't need anymore. Then from the collections list, I can select the checkbox next to a collection. So here, I'll select bestsellers, just as an example. Once I select it, Shopify shows a small action bar at the top. We now have options like bulk edit, include in sales channel, exclude from sales channel, and then this 3-dot menu. If I click the 3 dots, you can see the option to delete collection. And I'm not going to click that because we actually need this collection for the homepage later, but that's where the delete option lives from the list view. You can also delete a collection from inside the collection itself. If I open bestsellers, you'll see a more actions button near the top right. Clicking that also shows delete collection. Again, we're not deleting it here. This is just a quick, here's where the button is moment, not a let's destroy the store structure we just built moment. And one thing to understand is that deleting a collection does not mean you're deleting the products inside it. The products usually stay in your product section. You're just deleting the group that organizes them. So if you delete bestsellers, the FitLane products would still exist, but that bestsellers collection page would be gone, and you'd have to recreate it if you needed it again. So for now, we'll leave all of these collections in place. We have our main store structure ready, and that means we can finally move into the fun part: designing the actual storefront. How to choose your store theme in Shopify. All right, now that our products and collections are set up, we can finally move into the actual storefront design. This is the part where Fit Lane Essentials starts feeling less like a behind the scenes Shopify admin page and more like an actual store someone could visit, browse, and hopefully not immediately close out of. So from the left sidebar, I'm going to click Online Store. This section controls the website side of your Shopify store. Products and collections are what we sell, but the online store section is where we control how the store looks to customers. This is where we'll work with the theme, pages, preferences, and later we'll also deal with navigation and other storefront settings. On my screen, Shopify has already added a default theme called Horizon, and we can see a preview of what the store currently looks like on desktop and mobile. Right now, it still looks very generic, which is normal. It has default text like browse our latest products, and it's using the theme's placeholder style design. So don't worry if your store does not look branded yet. That's exactly what we're about to fix. You'll also notice this banner that says the store's password protected, and Shopify says to remove the password, we'll need to pick a plan. That's completely normal during the trial stage. It basically means customers can't publicly access the store yet unless they have the password. For now, that's actually fine because we're still building. We don't need random people wandering into Fit Lane Essentials while the homepage is half done and the footer still looks like it moved in yesterday. Now, the theme itself is basically the design template for the store. It controls the homepage layout, product pages, collection pages, header, footer, buttons, colors, fonts, spacing, sections, and the overall shopping experience. So, if products are what we sell, the theme is how we present those products. On this theme card, we have an Edit theme button. This is the main button we'll use to open the Shopify theme editor. Depending on your version of Shopify, this button might say customize instead, but it does the same thing. It opens the visual editor where we can change the homepage, add sections, update text, connect collections, upload images, and adjust the store design without coding. There's also a three-dot menu beside the theme. If I click that, Shopify shows options like preview, rename duplicate, edit code, edit default theme content, and download theme file. As a beginner, the most useful options here are preview and duplicate. Preview lets you quickly see the store, and duplicate is useful if you want to make a backup before experimenting with major design changes. Edit code is more advanced, so we're not touching that right now. That is the part of Shopify where one tiny misplaced bracket can make your afternoon more dramatic than it needs to be. Below the current theme, Shopify also has a Discover Themes section. Here you can browse other Shopify themes like Horizon, Tinker, Sabre, Atelier, and Ritual, depending on what Shopify is showing on your screen. You may also see a box that lets you generate a custom storefront by describing your business. Since we're building Fit Lane Essentials, we could type something like Modern Home Fitness Accessories Store, and Shopify may suggest tailored design options. You'll also see buttons like Visit Theme Store and Import. The theme store is where you can browse Shopify's official free and paid themes. The import button is useful if you already have a theme file, because Shopify lets you upload a zip file or connect from GitHub. This is where third-party themes can come in. For example, if someone bought a premium Shopify theme from a marketplace like Envato Market, they would usually download the theme file and upload it through this import option. But for this beginner tutorial, we're going to keep things simple. You do not need to buy a premium theme just to learn Shopify or build your first store. A clean free theme is more than enough to create a proper homepage, show products, organize collections, test the store, and understand how everything works. Buying a fancy theme before understanding Shopify is a little like buying expensive gym shoes before knowing where the gym is. It might help eventually, but it is not step one. The reason we waited until now to edit the theme is because we already added products and collections. That order matters. When we open the theme editor, we'll be able to connect real Fit Lane collections like bestsellers, home workout gear, recovery tools, and bundles. So instead of designing around empty placeholders, we'll actually be building the homepage around real store content. So now I'm going to click Edit Theme, and Shopify will open the visual theme editor. This may take a few seconds to load, so we'll let it do its thing. And while it loads, just remember we're not coding the store from scratch here. Most of what we'll do is click sections, change text, upload images, select collections, adjust settings, preview mobile, and save. Understanding the Shopify theme editor. All right, now we're inside the Shopify theme editor. And at first glance, this can look like Shopify opened a cockpit and said, "Good luck, Captain. We've got the page preview, the section list, theme settings, app embeds, mobile preview, save buttons, little icons across the top, and sometimes Shopify even throws in a red warning message just to keep the vibes mildly stressful. But once you understand what each area does, this editor is actually pretty manageable. The big area in the middle is the live preview of the store. This is showing what customers will see on the storefront. Right now, we're looking at the homepage, and we can see the default design with the announcement bar, the header, the hero image, the browse our latest products text, the shop all button, and then our featured product section underneath with the fit lane products we added earlier. On the left side, this panel shows the structure of the page. Think of it like the layers panel for your homepage. At the top, we have the header area, which includes things like the announcement bar and the main header menu. Then under template, we have the main homepage sections like hero and featured collection. And lower down, we have the footer, which includes things like the email sign up area, copyright, policy links, and social media links. The nice thing here is that you can click sections directly on the page preview, or you can click them from the left sidebar. So if I click the featured collection section, Shopify highlights that whole area with a blue outline, and now I know exactly what I'm editing. If I click the product image block, the left panel changes to show settings for the media block, like aspect ratio, borders, corner radius, and padding. So Shopify is basically saying, okay, this is the thing you clicked. Here are the controls for that thing. Very polite, very appreciated. You'll also notice add section and add block buttons in the sidebar. Sections are the larger pieces of the page, like a hero banner, featured collection, collection list, image banner, email sign up, or footer area. Blocks are smaller pieces inside those sections, like a heading button, product title, price, media, or text block. So sections are the big building blocks, and blocks are the smaller pieces inside them. Once that clicks, the editor becomes much less confusing. At the top of the editor, we can see the theme name, which is Horizon, and it's marked as active. We can also see that we're editing the homepage. That page dropdown is important because later you can switch between different templates, like product pages, collection pages, cart pages, and other page types. For example, when I turn off the inspector and click one of the products, Shopify can take me into the product page preview, like this Coreflex resistance band set product page. So we're not only editing the homepage in this editor, we can also preview and customize other store templates from here. Now, on the top right, we have a few important controls. One of the most useful ones is the desktop and mobile preview. This lets us check how the store looks on different screen sizes. And please don't skip mobile. A store can look amazing on desktop, and then on mobile, the hero text is running away, the button is floating in another time zone, and the product grid looks like it gave up. So as we customize Fit Lane Essentials, we'll keep checking mobile to make sure the store still feels clean on a phone. There's also this inspector button near the top right. When the inspector is active, clicking on the page selects sections and blocks so we can edit them. That's why when I click the hero, featured collection, or header, Shopify outlines it in blue and opens the related settings. But when I deactivate the inspector, I can interact with the store more like a real visitor. So instead of selecting a product card for editing, I can actually click the product and open the product page preview. That's really useful when you want to test how the store feels, not just how the sections are arranged. You may also see a sidekick or AI button in the top right area. When I click that, Shopify opens a side panel chat where I can ask for help or changes. And separately, when I click on a section or block and it's highlighted, I may also see an ask for changes pop up directly on the page. And that can be helpful if you want Shopify's AI assistance with editing. But for this walkthrough, I'm still going to show the manual way first. AI help is useful, but I don't want this tutorial to become click the magic button and hope the store becomes a business. We're going to understand what we're changing. And there's also the three dot menu at the top, where Shopify shows options like edit code, edit default theme content, view documentation, keyboard shortcuts, and support. As a beginner, you do not need to touch most of this, especially edit code. We are staying in the visual editor for now because the goal is to build a clean beginner store without accidentally turning the theme into a small emergency. On the far left, there are different editor modes. Right now, we're in the sections view, which is where we'll spend most of our time. There's also theme settings, which opens global design settings like logo and favicon, color palette, typography, buttons, cart, icons, input fields, and other store-wide styling options. This is where we'll eventually make the store feel more like FitLane Essentials instead of my store wearing Shopify's default outfit. There's also an app embeds area. On my screen, Shopify is showing recommended app embeds like Shopify Forms and Shopify Inbox. App embeds are usually used when apps add features to your storefront, like forms, live chat, pop ups, reviews, or tracking tools. We don't need to install anything right now, but it's good to know where this lives. Because later, if you add an app and it tells you to enable an app embed, this is usually where you'll find it. So the main idea is this. The center is your store preview. The left side is your page structure. The top bar lets you switch views, use inspector mode, open Sidekick, preview mobile, and save. The gear icon controls global theme settings, and app embeds are where app-based storefront features appear. Once you understand that layout, the theme editor becomes much less intimidating. Now that we know our way around the editor, the next step is to start editing the homepage itself. We'll begin with the header and basic store branding, because right now the store still says My Store, and FitLane Essentials deserves better than being introduced like an unfinished group project. This is the first thing customers usually see when they land on the site, so we want it to feel clean, branded, and not like Shopify just handed us a default store and we said, yeah, close enough. Right now, the store name still says My Store, which is fine for a few minutes, but definitely not what we want customers seeing. Since we're building FitLane Essentials, the first thing I want to do is make the header actually reflect that brand. So I'm going to click the header section from the left sidebar. Once I click it, Shopify highlights the header area in the preview. And now we can see the settings for things like the logo position, menu position, customer account icon, search icon, localization options, header width, sticky header behavior, colors, and a few other layout settings. Now, the logo position is currently set to the left, and honestly, I'm going to keep it there. For most beginner stores, a left-aligned logo with the menu beside it and the search account and cart icons on the right is a solid layout. It's familiar, it's clean, and customers don't have to think too hard about where anything is. Now, e-commerce is not the place where we need to reinvent navigation like we're designing a spaceship dashboard. To edit the actual store name or logo, I can click directly on the My Store text in the preview or click the logo block from the left panel. On my screen, when I select that logo area, Shopify opens a small logo panel. This panel doesn't directly let me type the store name here, but it gives me a link that says something like Edit Logo in theme settings. So I'm going to click that, and Shopify takes me into the theme settings area, specifically the logo and favicon section. This is where we can upload a real logo for the store. There's a spot for the default logo, an inverse logo, and a favicon. The default logo is the normal one customers see in the header. The inverse logo is usually used when the header background is dark or transparent, depending on the theme. And the favicon is that tiny little icon that appears in the browser tab. It's small, but it makes the store feel more finished. So later it's worth adding one. For this tutorial, I'm going to keep things beginner friendly and not get stuck designing a perfect logo right now. A clean text-based store name is completely fine while we build the structure. Later, we could create a proper FitLane Essentials logo using a design tool like Kittl, especially if we want a simple fitness style word mark or icon. But for now, the most important thing is that the store doesn't keep saying My Store, because that gives very strong demo store accidentally left in public energy. So instead of uploading a logo immediately, I'm going to update the actual store name first. In this same logo area, there's a Manage Store Name link. I'll click that, and Shopify takes me out to the main store settings page. Here, under the store contact details, I can see the current store name field. Right now it says My Store, so I'm going to replace that with Fit Lane Essentials. This store name is important because Shopify may use it in different places across the store, emails, checkout, and some theme areas, depending on how everything is configured. So I'll type Fit Lane Essentials, check that it looks right, and then save the settings. Now, once that's saved, I'll go back to the theme editor. Sometimes the change appears right away, and sometimes you may need to refresh the editor or reopen the theme preview for the header to update. So if your store still says the old name for a moment, don't panic. Shopify sometimes needs a little nudge, like most software, and honestly, most humans before coffee. The next thing we need to clean up is the navigation menu. This is the row of links in the header, and even though it looks small, it does a lot of work. This is how customers move around the store, find product categories, get back to the homepage, and hopefully avoid clicking around like they've been dropped into a maze with a cart icon. Right now, the header has the default links, home, catalog, and contact. That's a decent starting point, but it's still pretty generic. And because we already created real Fit Lane Essentials collections like bestsellers, home workout gear, recovery tools, and bundles, we should connect those to the menu so customers can browse the store in a way that actually makes sense. So inside the theme editor, I'm going to click the header section on the left. Once that opens, I can select the menu block inside the header. On my screen, I can see the menu is set to main menu. And if I click the little drop down or menu options beside it, Shopify gives me options like replace, edit, and remove menu. We don't want to remove the menu because that would be very dramatic for no reason. What we want is edit, because that takes us to the actual menu editor inside Shopify. Once I click edit, Shopify takes me to the main menu page under the content area. This is where we can add, change, remove, and reorder the links that appear in the header. And this is also a good moment to point out that Shopify menus are not edited directly like normal text on the page. The theme editor shows the menu, but the actual menu items live here in the Shopify admin. So if you ever click your header and wonder, why can't I just type new menu links right here? This is why. Shopify has chosen the scenic route. On this screen, we can see the current menu items, home, catalog, and contact. I'm going to keep home because every store needs a quick way back to the homepage. I'll also keep contact because customers need a place to go if they have questions. But catalog is a little plain, so I may either rename it to shop or leave it as the all products page, depending on how simple I want the store to feel. Personally, for Fit Lane Essentials, shop sounds a bit cleaner than catalog because catalog feels like something you'd receive in the mail in 2007. To add a new link, I'll click Add Menu Item. Shopify gives me two fields, one for the label and one for the link. The label is the text customers will see in the header. So if I want to add our bestsellers collection, I'll type bestsellers as the label. Then I'll click into the link field, and Shopify opens a dropdown with different places I can link to, like homepage, search, our collections, products, pages, blogs, policies, customer account pages, and a few other options depending on your store. Since we're linking to a collection, I'll choose collections. And now Shopify shows the collections we created earlier. I can see bestsellers, bundles, home workout gear, and recovery tools. So I'll select bestsellers, confirm it with the check mark, and that menu item is now connected to the actual bestsellers collection. Once I select the bestsellers collection, Shopify may show an extra field that says filter collection with tags, and this part is optional. Basically, this lets you narrow down the collection even further using product tags. So, for example, if you had a big collection with lots of products and you only wanted this menu link to show items tagged with something like summer, new, or home workout, you could add those tags here. But for our Fit Lane Essentials store, we don't really need that right now. Our collections are already small and organized, so I'm going to leave this blank. Beginners sometimes see extra fields like this and immediately think, oh no, did I miss a secret Shopify ritual? You didn't. If you don't need tag filtering yet, just ignore it and keep moving. We can always use tags later when the store has more products and needs more advanced organization. Then I'll repeat the same process for the other main browsing categories. I'll add home workout gear and link it to the home workout gear collection. I'll add recovery tools and link it to the recovery tools collection. And I'll add bundles and link it to the bundles collection. This is why we created collections before editing the theme. Now we're not just decorating the homepage randomly, we're building the navigation around real product groups inside the store. Now, you could also link directly to individual products from this same menu editor. For example, if I click into the link field and choose products, Shopify shows products like Coreflex Resistance Band Set, FitLane Home Training Bundle, FlexForm Yoga Mat, and Recovery Pro Foam Roller. That can be useful if you have one flagship product you really want people to find quickly. But for most stores, especially beginner stores, it's usually better to link the main menu to collections instead of individual products. And collections give customers more room to browse, and they make the store feel more organized. For this FitLane Essentials demo, the menu could be something like Home, Shop, Best Sellers, Home Workout Gear, Recovery Tools, Bundles, and Contact. That gives customers a clear path without turning the header into a full airport departure board. Later, if the menu starts looking crowded, we can simplify it by keeping Shop as the main link and moving some collections into a drop-down menu, depending on what the theme supports. But for now, because this is a small demo store, direct links are perfectly fine. Once the menu items are added, I'll click Save. And yes, we are saving again. At this point, saving is basically the seatbelt of Shopify. Slightly boring, very necessary, and you only regret ignoring it after something goes wrong. After saving, I'll go back to the theme editor and check the header preview. Sometimes Shopify updates the menu right away, and sometimes it takes a second, or you may need to refresh the editor. So if the old menu still shows for a moment, don't panic. Shopify occasionally likes to take a tiny thinking break before admitting you changed something. Actually, looking at the header now, this is a good moment to point something out. Technically, this menu works, but it's starting to feel a little crowded. And this is one of those small store design decisions that matters more than beginners realize. Just because we can add every collection to the top menu does not mean we should. The header is supposed to guide people, not make them feel like they just opened a fitness equipment directory. So for FitLane Essentials, I'm going to simplify the main navigation. Instead of having Home Shop, Best Sellers, Home Workout Gear, Recovery Tools, Bundles, and Contact all sitting across the top, I'd rather keep the main menu cleaner with something like Home Shop, Best Sellers, and Contact. That gives customers the main paths without making the header look like it's trying to win a word count challenge. Now, we still want people to find home workout gear, recovery tools, and bundles, but those do not all need to be top level links. A cleaner option is to place those under shop as drop down items. So the customer can hover over or tap shop and then see the smaller categories underneath. That feels more organized because shop becomes the main shopping hub and the individual collections sit neatly inside it. Now, because this Shopify menu layout supports nesting, we don't have to delete all these category links completely. We just need to organize them better. So instead of keeping bestsellers, home workout gear, recovery tools, and bundles all sitting across the top menu like they're fighting for attention, I'm going to place the shopping related links under shop. To do that, I'll keep shop as the main menu item, and then I'll drag the other collection links slightly underneath it. In Shopify, once you drag a menu item near another one and move it slightly inward, it becomes nested under that parent item. So home workout gear, recovery tools, and bundles can sit underneath shop as drop-down links instead of taking up space in the main header. This gives us a much cleaner structure. The top menu can stay simple with something like home, shop, best sellers, and contact. And then shop can open up into the more specific shopping categories. That way, customers still have access to everything, but the header does not look like it's trying to explain the entire business model in one line. So I'll drag home workout gear under shop, then recovery tools under shop, and then bundles under shop as well. And depending on how you want to structure your store, you could also nest bestsellers under shop or leave bestsellers as its own top level link because it's a strong browsing shortcut. For this demo, I'll keep bestsellers visible because it gives customers a quick way to jump into the featured products, and then shop can hold the main category dropdown. Once the menu looks organized, I'll click save. And now when we go back to the theme editor, the header should feel much cleaner. We still have all the important links, but now they're grouped in a way that makes sense. This is the difference between here are all my pages, good luck, and here's a simple path through the store. A small change, much better experience. And before moving on, it's worth testing the navigation like a customer. In the theme editor, when the inspector is turned on, clicking parts of the page selects them for editing. But when we turn the inspector off, we can interact with the store more like it's already published. So I can click a menu link, open a collection, click into a product, and make sure the path actually works. This is a small step, but it catches annoying mistakes early, like linking bestsellers to the wrong page or accidentally sending people to a product you didn't mean to feature. So now the header is doing its job. It has the Fit Lane Essentials name, clear navigation links, and real collection paths for customers to follow. This already makes the store feel much more intentional than the default home catalog contact setup. Before we move too far away from the header, I also want to quickly clean up the announcement bar at the very top. This is the small strip above the main navigation, and by default, it usually says something like, Welcome to our store, which is fine, technically, but it doesn't really help the customer. It's like opening a restaurant menu, and the first line says, Food exists. Thank you. I had suspicions. So for Fit Lane Essentials, we're going to make this announcement bar actually useful. I'll click the announcement bar section on the left, and when I do that, Shopify opens the overall settings for the announcement bar itself. So this first panel is more like the container settings. Here we can adjust things like the time between announcements if you have more than one, the section width, background color, divider thickness, divider color, and padding. Basically, this controls how the announcement bar behaves and looks as a section. But to change the actual text, I need to click the announcement block underneath the announcement bar dropdown. On my screen, it shows the current announcement text, which is still Welcome to our store. I can click that block from the left sidebar, or I can simply click the announcement text directly in the preview. Once I select it, Shopify opens the settings for that specific announcement message. This is where I can change the text, add a link, and adjust smaller styling options like the font, size, weight, letter spacing, case, and text color. For a real store, this is a good place to mention a simple offer, shipping message, launch promo, or important update. You could say something like free shipping on orders over $50, new home fitness essentials just added, or launch offer, save on selected workout gear. The goal is not to write a whole paragraph up here. The announcement bar should be quick, useful, and easy to understand. For this Fit Lane Essentials demo, I'm going to replace Welcome to our store with something like free shipping on orders over $50. It's simple, believable, and it gives customers a small reason to keep browsing. Later, if you're running a sale, promoting a new product, or collecting emails, you can update this message anytime. You can also add a link to the announcement bar if your theme supports it. For example, I could link this message to the bestsellers collection or the main shop page. That way, if someone clicks the announcement, it takes them somewhere useful instead of just sitting there like decorative text with a job title. Now, should every store keep the announcement bar? Not always. If you don't have anything useful to say, it's better to hide it than to leave a generic message. And in this theme, I also have the option to remove the section or remove the announcement block if I decide I don't want it. But for beginner e-commerce stores, I usually like keeping it because it's an easy way to highlight an offer, build urgency, or point people toward something important without taking up too much space. Once the text is updated, I'll quickly check how it looks in the preview. I don't want the bar to be too tall, too distracting, or weirdly spaced, so the padding and divider settings are worth glancing at. If it looks clean, I'll save the changes, and now the top of the store already feels more intentional. We've got the Fit Lane Essentials name, a cleaner navigation menu, and an announcement bar that actually says something useful instead of just waving awkwardly at visitors. Next, we're going to move into the homepage hero section because right now the main banner still says browse our latest products. And that's where we can start making the store feel much more like a real fitness brand. All right, now let's fix the hero section. This is the big banner at the top of the homepage, and it's basically the store's first handshake with the customer. Right now, the default headline says browse our latest products, which is technically fine, but it's also painfully generic. It sounds like Shopify politely wrote it in 5 seconds and then left us to deal with the emotional consequences. So I'm going to click the hero section from the left sidebar, or I can click directly on the hero banner in the preview. Once it's selected, Shopify opens the main settings for the hero section. And this is important. The hero section itself controls the overall container. So things like the image or media, mobile media behavior, section link, layout, alignment, overlay, spacing, and padding. But if I want to change the actual headline or button text, I need to click the individual blocks underneath the hero dropdown. So in my sidebar, I can see blocks like heading and button under the hero section. Starting with the main hero settings, Shopify gives us areas for Media 1 and Media 2. Depending on your theme, this means you can use one image, two images, or sometimes a combination of image and video. For Fit Lane Essentials, we want the hero image to match the brand, so I'm going to replace the default illustration with something more fitness related. And I'll click Select under the image area, and Shopify opens the media picker. From here, I can choose one of the images I've already uploaded, or I can click Add Files if I need to upload a new one. For this demo, I'll use a clean home fitness image that matches the Fit Lane Essentials vibe. Something with workout gear, stretching, training, resistance bands, dumbbells, or a simple home workout setup works well here. The goal is for the image to support the message. If the headline says home fitness gear, but the background looks like a camping trip or a bowl of pasta, customers are going to have questions. And honestly, fair questions. If you're building a real store, use your own photos, supplier approved images, licensed stock photos, or branded graphics you have permission to use. This is also a good place where a design tool like Kittl can help later, especially if you want a custom homepage banner with your brand colors, product cutouts, and a cleaner fitness style layout. But for this beginner setup, we'll keep it simple and use a clean image from the files we already uploaded. Below the media settings, I can also see mobile media options. This is useful because hero images often look different on phones. A wide desktop image can get cropped awkwardly on mobile, so Shopify gives us options like stacking media or showing different media on mobile, depending on the theme. I'm not going to overcomplicate it right now, but after changing the image, I'll definitely check the mobile preview to make sure the hero still looks good on a smaller screen. There's also a section link field. This can make the whole hero section clickable, but since we already have a button in the hero, I usually prefer leaving the section link alone, unless there's a specific reason to make the entire banner clickable. For beginners, it's cleaner to I'll let the button do the job because customers understand buttons. A whole clickable image can be useful, but it can also be slightly confusing if you forget where it's sending people. Now let's scroll down to the layout settings. On my screen, I can adjust things like direction, alignment, position, gap, width, and height. I'll keep the layout simple and centered for now, because the hero headline should be easy to read. For height, medium's usually a good starting point. If the hero feels too small, you can increase it later, but we don't need the homepage banner to become a full screen fitness billboard unless that's the look you're going for. All right, now that we've placed a proper fitness image into the hero section, we can start refining how it actually looks on the page. And this is where the homepage starts to feel less like a default Shopify template and more like a real store with a direction. The image we chose is definitely better than the original placeholder because it actually shows people working out at home, which fits Fit Lane Essentials a lot more. But the first version of the crop was a little awkward. The hero was cutting off too much of the bottom part of the image. And that bottom area is important because it shows the workout mats and makes the whole image feel more connected to the kind of fitness gear we're selling. So instead of just accepting the first crop Shopify gives us, I'm going to adjust it. In the hero section settings, I can see the image we uploaded under media. To edit it, I'll click the little edit icon on the image thumbnail. That opens the image editor, where Shopify gives me options like image information, alt text, crop and transform, resize, and other basic editing tools. From here, I'll go into crop and transform, choose freeform, and then adjust the crop manually. Like what I'm trying to do is trim some of the empty space from the top of the image so the lower part becomes more visible in the hero banner. And this is a good reminder. With homepage banners, the image itself might be fine, but the crop can completely change how useful it feels. If the most important part of the image is cut off, the section can look nice but still not communicate the right thing. So here, I'm adjusting the crop until the people, the floor, and the workout mats feel more balanced in the frame. At one point, you may also see a focal point option. This lets you tell Shopify which part of the image should stay important when the image gets cropped across different screen sizes. So if that appears on your screen, you can click or drag the focal point toward the area you want Shopify to prioritize. In this case, I want the workout area and mats to remain visible. So I'd place the focal point closer to the center lower area of the image rather than way up at the wall. If you don't see that option, don't stress. Some themes and image editors show it differently, but the main idea is still the same. We want the hero image to crop around the most useful part of the photo. After adjusting the crop, I'll click Apply, then save the image changes. And once I'm back in the theme editor, I'll check how it looks inside the actual hero section. In my case, after cropping the image, the hero feels a little too short. So I'm going to go into the hero layout settings and change the height to large. That gives the image more breathing room and helps the banner feel more like a proper homepage hero instead of a tiny strip trying its best. Now, while we're in here, I also want to make the text easier to read. The image looks good, but because there are different colors and shapes in the background, the white headline can blend in a little. So under the hero section settings, I'm going to use the media overlay option. This adds a darker layer over the image, which makes the text stand out more clearly. On my screen, I can adjust the overlay color, and I'm using black with some transparency rather than a fully solid black. The goal is not to make the image look gloomy. I just want enough darkness so the headline is readable immediately. A beautiful hero image is useless if the text disappears into the background like it owes someone money. So I'll darken it just enough that the text pops, but not so much that the image loses all its energy. Once the image crop, focal point, height, and overlay feel better, I'll move to the actual content blocks inside the hero. And this part is important. Clicking the hero section controls the whole container, but if I want to change the actual headline or button, I need to click the individual blocks underneath the hero dropdown in the left sidebar. So first I'll click the heading block. Right now the headline still says something generic like browse our latest products, which is fine for a starter theme, but it doesn't really say anything specific about Fit Lane Essentials. So I'm going to replace that with home fitness gear built for stronger daily routines. That headline works much better because it tells people what the store is about and why they should care. We're not just showing random products, we're positioning Fit Lane Essentials as a store for home fitness gear, recovery tools, and simple workout essentials that help people stay consistent. In the heading settings, Shopify gives me options like width, max width, typography preset, text color, background, and padding. I'm not going to over design this yet. I just want the headline to be large enough to feel like a real hero statement, but not so huge that it wraps awkwardly or becomes hard to read on mobile. If your theme lets you add another text block under the heading, this would be a good place to add a short supporting line like simple workout essentials for strength recovery and everyday movement. That gives the hero a little more context without turning it into a whole motivational speech. We want helpful and clear, not the homepage is about to yell no excuses at people before breakfast. After that, I'll click the button block. Right now, the button says Shop All, which is okay, but we can make it more intentional. I'm going to change the label to Shop Bestsellers because that gives new visitors a clear first step. If someone lands on the store and doesn't know what to look at yet, Bestsellers is a simple place to send them. Then I'll check the button link. On my screen, the button label now says Shop Bestsellers, which is exactly what I want, but the link is still pointing to all products. And this is one of those small details that matters because the words on the button and the actual destination should match. If a customer clicks Shop Bestsellers, they should land on the Bestsellers collection, not just a general product page where everything is mixed together. So I'll click into the link field, remove all products, and then choose the Bestsellers collection instead. That way, this button becomes a real shopping path. It's not just a nice looking button sitting in the middle of the hero section with confidence. It actually takes customers somewhere useful. In the button settings, Shopify also gives me options for the style, background, text color, border, and sizing. For now, I'm going to keep it simple and readable. The button already stands out because it has a clean border and clear text. And later, when we polish the overall theme settings, we can come back and make the buttons match the FitLane Essentials brand colors more closely. Right now, the main priority is clarity. The customer needs to understand what the button does and where it takes them. Now, before I move on, I'm going to take a quick look at the hero section as a whole because something feels slightly off. The image looks better, the overlay helps the text stand out, the headline is more specific, and the button is more useful. But I can see there's a little too much space between the headline, the subheading, and the button. It's not terrible, but it does make the hero feel a bit more stretched out than it needs to be. At first, I might try adjusting the padding settings, because padding is usually what controls space around an element. But in this case, changing the padding doesn't really fix the issue the way I expected, and this is a good beginner lesson. Sometimes the problem is not the section spacing. Sometimes the problem is literally an extra blank line hiding inside your text field, quietly causing drama. So I'll click back into the heading and subheading text blocks and double check the actual text. And yep, there it is. There's some extra blank space after the text, which is creating that awkward gap. I'll delete the extra blank line, clean up the text field, and then check the preview again. Now the spacing feels much better. And just to quickly recap how I set up the text here, I kept the main headline as the larger heading style. And in my case, I used a heading preset that gives it that bold hero look. Then for the supporting line underneath, I duplicated the heading block and used that second block as the subheading. After pasting in the supporting text, I changed that block's style down to something closer to paragraph text so it doesn't compete with the main headline. That gives the hero a cleaner hierarchy. Big headline first, smaller explanation underneath, and then the button below that. This is the kind of little design detail that makes a store feel more polished. You don't always need fancy animations or complicated design tricks. Sometimes it's just making sure the text hierarchy makes sense, the spacing feels intentional, and there are no random blank lines hiding in the editor, like tiny layout gremlins. Once the image, overlay, headline, subheading, and button are all updated, I'll step back and check the hero as a whole. I'm looking for three things. Does the image match the kind of store we're building? Is the headline easy to read? And does the button give customers an obvious next step? If all three are working, then the hero is doing its job. I'll also switch to mobile preview before moving on, because this is one of those small steps that saves you from a very annoying surprise later. A hero can look great on desktop and then look strange on mobile if the image crops badly, the headline wraps too much, or the button ends up in an awkward spot. So I'll quickly check that the image still feels like home fitness, the headline is still readable, the subheading is not too cramped, and the button is easy to tap. Looking at this hero on mobile, this is pretty solid. The FitLane Essentials name still shows clearly in the header, the announcement bar still fits at the top, and the hero image still feels like home fitness. We can still see the workout setting, the mats, and enough of the movement in the image for it to make sense. That's what we want. The image should still support the store, even after Shopify crops it down for a smaller screen. The headline is also readable. It wraps into a few lines, which is completely normal on mobile. especially with a longer headline like Home Fitness Gear Built for Stronger Daily Routines. The main thing I'm checking is whether it still feels clean and easy to understand. If the headline felt too tall or started pushing everything too far down the screen, I could reduce the heading preset slightly or shorten the wording to something like Home Fitness Gear for Stronger Daily Routines. But right now, this still works, so I'm not going to overfix it just for the sake of touching more settings. The subheading also fits nicely underneath, and the button is easy to see and tap. That matters because the hero section should give customers an obvious next step. They land on the page, understand what the store is about, and then they can tap shop bestsellers without needing to scroll around or think too hard. That's a good mobile hero. Clear message, clear image, clear action. One thing I also like here is that the product section starts right underneath the hero. That means the page moves naturally from the main brand message into actual products. We're not making customers scroll through 5 giant blocks of vague branding before they can see what we sell. This is still a store, not a motivational poster with a checkout button hidden somewhere underneath it. So for now, I'm happy with this mobile version. It's readable, the image still fits the brand, the button is visible, and the overall layout feels clean. If later we want to fine tune the mobile version even more, we can come back and adjust the image crop, heading size, or hero height. But for a beginner Shopify setup, this is absolutely good enough to keep moving. Now I'll click save because once again, we are not trusting vibes with homepage edits. And with the hero section looking good on both desktop and mobile, we can move down to the featured collection area and clean up the section that currently just says products. This is the first actual product area customers see after the main banner, so we want it to feel curated. Not like Shopify just dropped a random product grid onto the page and hoped nobody would ask questions. I'll click the featured collection section in the left sidebar. In this theme, the main featured collection container controls which products are being displayed and how they appear. So this is where I can choose the collection, change the layout type, adjust the product count, set the number of columns, control mobile columns, and tweak spacing between the product cards. Then if I want to change the section title itself, I need to open the dropdown under featured collection and go into the header area. Under that, there's a collection title block. That's where the product's heading is coming from. On my screen, the title is using a dynamic source, which basically means Shopify is automatically pulling the name from whatever collection this section is connected to. So if the section is connected to products, the heading says products. If I connect it to bestsellers, the heading changes to bestsellers. Now, here's something important. When I choose the bestsellers collection, it technically works, but because there's only one product inside that collection right now, the whole section starts looking a little empty. And that's a good thing to catch now because this is exactly why you always preview your sections after changing the collection. Collection name can sound great, but if it only has one product, the homepage might feel unfinished. So for this demo, I have 2 good options. I can either add more products into the bestsellers collection so that section actually feels full, or I can keep this featured section connected to the broader products collection and change the heading to something like featured fitness essentials. That might actually be better for the homepage right now because it lets us show a fuller range of products while still making the section sound intentional. For Fit Lane Essentials, I'd use featured fitness essentials if I want to show multiple products from the store, or bestsellers only once that collection has enough items to look convincing. A bestseller section with one product is a little like opening a top 10 list and finding one lonely item sitting there by itself. Technically not illegal, but emotionally suspicious. Now, inside the featured collection settings, I can also change the layout type. On this theme, I can choose options like grid, carousel, or editorial. Grid is usually the safest option for a beginner store because it shows products clearly and feels familiar. Carousel can work if you have a lot of products and want customers to slide through them, especially on mobile, but it can also hide products if people don't interact with it. Editorial looks more stylized, but on this store, it creates a lot of uneven spacing, so I wouldn't use it here unless I was intentionally building a more magazine style homepage. So I'm going to keep this as a grid. Then I'll check the product count in columns. Since we only have a few products, 4 columns on desktop works well because it lets the section feel full without making the cards too small. For mobile, 1 or 2 columns can work depending on how the product images look. 1 column gives each product more space, while 2 columns shows more products at once, but can feel tighter. I'll quickly preview it later and choose whichever feels cleaner. The spacing controls are also useful here. Horizontal gap controls the space between product cards, and vertical gap controls the space between rows. I don't want the products smashed together, but I also don't want so much empty space that the section looks like it's socially distancing from itself. So I'll keep the spacing clean and balanced. I'll also look at the section layout settings. Page width keeps the section aligned with the rest of the store content, while full width stretches it wider. For this homepage, page width feels more polished because it lines up nicely with the header and keeps the product grid easy to scan. Now, for the product cards themselves, I'm checking the basics. The images should look clean, the product titles should be readable, the prices should show correctly, and the sale badges should make sense. The sale labels are showing because some products have compare it prices, which is fine. But for a real store, I'd use sale pricing carefully. If everything is always on sale forever, customers eventually stop believing the discount. All right, now that people can actually see the products, we need to answer the question that's sitting in the back of every customer's mind, even if they never say it out loud. Why should I buy from this store instead of the 100 other fitness stores online? This is where a lot of beginner stores make the mistake of stacking more products underneath the homepage, thinking more products automatically create more sales. But in reality, a homepage shouldn't feel like an endless product catalog. It should tell a story. First, you introduce the brand, and then you show a few products, and then you give people a reason to trust what they're looking at. So back in the left sidebar, I'm going to scroll down and click Add Section. Shopify gives us quite a few different layouts here, but for this part of the homepage, I'm looking for something simple that combines text with an image. I don't need anything overly complicated yet. I just want a section that helps customers understand what FitLane Essentials is about in a quick visual way. Once the section picker opens, you'll see a search bar at the top, and you may also see tabs for sections and apps. For now, I'm staying on sections because we're adding something that comes with the theme itself. If you click into apps by accident, you may see things like shop buttons or app blocks, but that's not what we need here. We're not trying to install anything extra. We're just building out the homepage using the theme sections Shopify already gives us. Now I'll scroll through the available sections until I find something called image with text. Depending on your theme, it may be under a category like storytelling, and it might have a preview showing an image on one side and text on the other. That's exactly what we want. This type of section is great because it breaks up the product grid and gives the store a more human feel. And without it, the homepage can start to feel like, here are products, please buy them, which is technically e commerce, but not exactly inspiring. So I'll click the plus icon next to image with text, and Shopify adds it underneath the featured products section. Right away, we can see the default version. On my screen, it has a placeholder image, a heading that says something like our signature product, a short paragraph, and a shop now button. The layout itself is useful, but the content is still generic. And this is the part we need to replace because default text is fine for showing where things go, but it should never be the final version of your store. I'll click the image with text section first. This gives me the main container settings. Here I can adjust the layout direction, alignment, position, spacing, width, height, background borders, and padding. For this demo, I'm going to keep the layout horizontal with the image on one side and the text on the other. I'll also keep the mobile layout in mind because on smaller screens, this section should stack neatly instead of trying to squeeze everything into one row, like it's late for a meeting. Now, to edit the actual content, I need to expand the section in the left sidebar. Inside the image with text section, I can see the individual blocks, usually something like image, then a group containing heading, text, and button. This is important because the main section controls the overall layout, but the individual blocks control what customers actually read and click. So first I'll click the heading block. The default heading says our signature product, but for Fit Lane Essentials, I want this section to explain the brand a little better. So I'm going to change it to built for better home workouts. That feels more relevant because it instantly connects the section to the customer's goal. We're not just saying, look at our product. We're saying that this store's here to help you train better at home. That's a much stronger message. Next, I'll click the text block and replace the placeholder paragraph with something more specific. I'll use home training works best when your gear is simple, reliable, and easy to use. Fit Lane Essentials brings together practical workout and recovery tools designed to help you stay consistent, build strength, and move better from home. That gives the store a bit of personality without going overboard. We're not pretending this is some dramatic origin story where a resistance band changed someone's destiny during a thunderstorm. We're just clearly explaining what the store offers and why it exists. Now I'll update the image. The default graphic looks clean, but it doesn't really match our fitness brand. So I'll click the image block and replace it with one of the fitness images we already uploaded. Ideally, I want something that feels connected to home workouts, equipment, stretching, recovery, or movement. The goal is for the image to support the text. If the text says better home workouts, the image should visually agree with that statement instead of looking like it wandered in from a clothing store template. After that, I'll click the button block. The default button says Shop Now, which is usable, but we can make it more specific. For this section, I'll change the label to something like Shop Fitness Gear. That gives customers a clearer idea of where the button is taking them. Then I'll check the button link. I can link it to all products if I want people to browse the full catalog, or I can link it to home workout gear if I want the button to match this section more closely. Since this section is about home workouts, linking to the home workout gear collection makes a lot of sense. I'll keep the button style simple for now. On my screen, the primary button stands out nicely, so I'll leave it as a strong call to action. Later, when we polish the overall theme settings, we can come back and make sure the button styles are consistent across the entire store. But for now, the main thing is that the button is readable, clickable, and linked to the right place. Once the heading, paragraph, image, and button are updated, I'll step back and look at the section in the full homepage preview. And now the page has a better rhythm. It's not just hero, product grid, more product grid, and then the footer quietly waiting at the bottom. We now have a section that gives the brand a little more context. It tells visitors what Fit Lane Essentials is about, who it's for, and why the products belong together. All right, now that we've added a short brand story section, the homepage is starting to feel a lot more human. But before we move into the footer, I want to add one more section that makes the value of Fit Lane Essentials easier to understand at a glance, because not every customer is going to read every paragraph on the homepage like they're preparing for a final exam in online shopping. Most people skim. They look at the hero, glance at the products, scroll a little, and then quietly decide whether the store feels trustworthy enough to keep going. So this section is where we give people a few quick reasons to shop here. Not a giant speech, not a wall of text, just simple benefit points that make the store feel more polished and intentional. Back in the left sidebar, I'm going to click Add section underneath the image with text section. Then I'll look for a section called Text with Icons. Depending on your theme, it might be called something slightly different, like icon with text, featured icons, multi-column, or text columns. But because this theme gives us a text with icon section, that's the one I'm going to use. This works really well because the icons help break up the page visually, and the short text blocks make the benefits easy to scan. Now, first I'd like to add a simple heading above the benefits so this section feels separated from the brand story section. I want the customer to clearly understand, okay, now these are the reasons to shop here. But I did run into a small Shopify layout issue here. When I tried adding a heading block directly inside the icons with text section using the little plus button near one of the elements, technically it worked. Shopify did add the heading, but it placed the heading inside the icon layout itself, which made it land in a really awkward position between the benefits. So instead of looking like a proper section title, it looked like the heading had accidentally joined the team and was trying to become a fourth benefit. So here's the better workaround. I'm going to duplicate the icons with text section and then use that duplicated version as a simple heading area above the actual benefits. Inside the duplicated section, I'll remove the extra left and right benefit blocks and keep just one block in the middle. Then I can use that remaining block as my section heading and even as a short subheading if I want one. For the main heading, I'll change the text to Why Fit Lane Essentials, and underneath it, I can use a short supporting line like Simple Home Fitness Essentials for Strength, Recovery, and Everyday Routines. Now, this gives us the structure we wanted in the first place. We have a clear title above the benefits, and then the actual icon blocks sit underneath it. It's not the most obvious way to do it, but it works. And honestly, this is a very realistic part of building with Shopify themes. Sometimes the section you choose doesn't have the exact setting you expected, so you find a clean workaround instead of fighting the layout for 20 minutes like it insulted your family. After that, I'll reduce the top and bottom padding on this duplicated heading section so it doesn't create a huge empty gap. The goal is for this to feel like a heading, not like a completely separate section floating in space. So I'll bring the padding down until the heading sits nicely above the icon blocks. Now that we have a proper title area, I can go back to the actual benefits section underneath and edit the individual icon blocks. This gives the page a much better flow because customers first see the question, why Fit Lane Essentials? And then immediately get three simple answers underneath. For the first benefit, I'll use Home Workout Ready, and for the description, simple gear designed for training at home. Without needing a full gym setup, that immediately tells customers who this store is for. FitLane Essentials is not trying to be every fitness store for every possible athlete on planet Earth. We're focusing on practical gear for people who want to train at home and build a routine that actually fits into normal life. For the second benefit, I'll use Strength and Recovery. And the description can be essentials for building strength, improving mobility, and supporting recovery between workouts. This helps connect the different products together. Resistance bands, yoga mats, dumbbells, and foam rollers are not random items sitting next to each other like they met in a warehouse by accident. They all support the same bigger idea: training better at home and recovering properly. For the third benefit, I'll use easy to start. And the description: beginner friendly fitness picks that help you stay consistent without overcomplicating your routine. This is an important one because a lot of customers do not want complicated equipment. They just want something useful, simple, and approachable. So this benefit makes the store feel less intimidating, especially for someone who is just getting started. Now, quick side note while I'm writing these sections, if you're building your own Shopify store and you get stuck writing product descriptions, homepage copy, FAQs, collection descriptions, benefit blocks, announcement bars, or all those tiny pieces of text that somehow take longer than expected, I've put together a ChatGPT prompt pack specifically for e-commerce stores. It's designed to help you generate clearer store copy faster instead of staring at a blank Shopify box, wondering why your brain has suddenly gone on holiday. I'll leave the link in the description, and depending on when you're watching, it should be available at acomsensei.com/prompt. You don't need it to follow this tutorial, but it can definitely save time when you're building out your own store. Back in Shopify, I'll also adjust the icons so they support each benefit as much as possible. I'll click into the first icon block, and in the left panel, I can open the icon dropdown. Now, depending on your theme, the icon options might be a little limited. On my screen, I can see options like eye, heart, user, checkbox, star, stopwatch, and a bunch of other general icons, but I don't immediately see something perfect like a home gym or dumbbell icon. And that's completely fine. This is one of those moments where you don't want to spend 10 minutes hunting for the world's most emotionally accurate icon. The icon's job is to help people understand the point faster, not carry the entire brand on its tiny little shoulders. So for Home Workout Ready, I'll choose something simple and practical. If your theme has a home checkmark, box, or equipment style icon, use that. If it doesn't, just choose the closest option available or keep the default for now. There's also an image icon option here, so later, if I want something more branded, I could upload my own simple icon. But for this beginner setup, I'm not going to overcomplicate it. For strength and recovery, the heart icon actually works pretty well because it gives the section a softer recovery and wellness feel. This benefit is about building strength, improving mobility, and supporting recovery between workouts. So, a heart activity style icon, refresh icon, or anything that suggests care and movement would make sense. For easy to start, I'll use something simple like the user icon or a check mark if the theme gives me one. The point here is approachability. This benefit is for customers who don't want complicated equipment or a routine that feels intimidating before they even begin. So the icon should feel simple and friendly. The main thing is consistency. I want all three icons to feel like they belong together. So I'll keep them the same style, roughly the same size, and avoid mixing random icons that make the section feel like it was decorated during a power outage. Then I'll check the spacing between the heading section and the benefits section. Since we used one duplicated icons with text section as the heading area and another icons with text section for the actual benefits, spacing matters a lot here. If there's too much white space between them, the page starts to feel disconnected. So I'll reduce the top and bottom padding until the heading and the benefit blocks feel like one clean section. And I'm also keeping the copy grounded. I'm not saying things like trusted by thousands or the best fitness store online because we haven't earned those claims yet. Instead, I'm keeping it simple: home workouts, strength, recovery, and easy routines. That feels more believable, and believable copy usually works better than copy that sounds like it drank 3 energy drinks and opened a marketing textbook. Now I'll step back and look at the section as a whole. We've got the heading at the top, a short supporting line underneath, and then 3 clear benefit points below that. So now the page has a much stronger flow. The hero introduces the store, the featured products show what customers can buy, the brand story gives the store some personality, and this benefits section quickly explains why Fit Lane Essentials makes sense for someone shopping for home workout gear. That's the difference between a homepage that just displays products and a homepage that actually guides the customer. After that, I'll quickly switch to mobile preview. On mobile, these icon blocks will usually stack vertically, so I want to make sure the heading appears first, the benefits follow underneath, and the section doesn't feel too stretched out. If it feels too long on mobile, I can tighten the descriptions or remove any extra block that feels repetitive. 3 clear benefits are better than 4 benefits that all start saying the same thing in different shoes. Once everything looks clean, I'll click save. And yes, we are still saving after every meaningful change because Shopify has a funny way of making you respect the save button after the first time something disappears. So now we've added a clean benefits section with a proper heading, a short explanation, and simple icon based points underneath. This makes the homepage feel more trustworthy, more organized, and easier to understand because customers can quickly see why Fit Lane Essentials is a good fit for home workout gear. Next, we're going to clean up the email sign up section and footer because the bottom of the homepage still matters. That's where customers look for trust signals, contact details, policies, and one last reason to stay connected before they leave. Now, inside the footer area, I'm going to keep this very simple. The email sign up section already has the structure we need: a heading, a short description, and the email input field. So I'll click the heading text first, and instead of leaving it as the default join our email list, I can make it a little more branded. For this demo, I'll use join the Fit Lane list, and for the short text underneath, I'll use get simple home workout tips, early access to new gear, and occasional Fit Lane offers. That gives people an actual reason to sign up. A lot of stores just say join our newsletter, but that doesn't really tell the customer what they're getting. Here, we're making it clear: tips, early access, and occasional offers. Simple enough. Then I'll click the email sign up block itself. On this theme, I can adjust things like the width, input border, style, corner radius, background text, and submit button. I'm not going to redesign the entire form, I just want it to look clean and easy to use. So I'll keep the input field wide, readable, and rounded because it already fits the clean fit lane style pretty well. For the submit button, this theme is using the arrow inside the email field, which is nice because it keeps the sign up form minimal. If your theme gives you a separate button instead, just make sure it's visible and easy to understand. The important thing is that customers immediately know where to type their email and how to submit it. Next, I'll move down into the footer utilities. This is where we have things like copyright, policy links, and social media links. The copyright area is already showing the store name, and on my screen, there's also a powered by Shopify option. For a cleaner branded footer, I can turn that off if the theme allows it. It's not the end of the world if you leave it on while building, but before launching a real store, I'd usually remove it so the footer feels a little more polished. Then I'll check the policy links. Right now I can see something like terms and policies, which is useful, but later we still need to make sure the actual policies exist inside Shopify. So don't just assume the footer is finished because the link is visible. We'll come back to policies properly when we set up the legal pages, shipping policy, refund policy, and privacy policy. After that, I'll check the social media links. On my screen, Shopify has fields for platforms like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, X, Pinterest, and a few others. Now, this is one of those areas where beginners sometimes make the store look less trustworthy by accident. If you don't actually have social accounts for the store yet, don't paste random default links just to make the icons appear. Empty social pages or broken links are worse than no links at all. So for now, I'd only add social links that are real. If FitLane Essentials had an Instagram page, I'd paste the Instagram URL there. If it had TikTok, I'd add that too. But if I don't have those accounts yet, I'd leave the fields blank or remove the social block depending on what the theme allows. A clean footer with fewer links is better than a footer pretending to have a whole media empire. Once the email, sign up, copyright, policies, and social links look clean, I'll step back and look at the bottom of the page as a whole. I'm checking that the email sign up doesn't feel cramped, the footer links are readable, and nothing looks like placeholder content. This section doesn't need to be exciting, it just needs to feel finished. Then I'll switch to mobile preview one more time. At the bottom of the homepage, I want the email field to be easy to tap, the text to stay readable, the footer links to stack cleanly, and the social icons to not look messy. A lot of people browse stores on their phone, so the footer still needs to behave itself down here. Once everything looks good, I'll click save. So now the homepage has a proper ending. We've cleaned up the email sign up, checked the footer links, handled the social icons properly, and made sure the bottom of the page doesn't feel like abandoned template leftovers. Okay, now that the homepage design is basically done, this is the point where you'd quickly preview the site, make sure everything looks good on desktop and mobile, and also make sure you click save. And I'm not going to spend ages on that because we've already been checking things as we go, but before moving on, just make sure nothing looks broken, your sections flow properly, and your latest edits are actually saved. Now we need to move into the store settings. This part is not as exciting as designing the homepage, I'll be honest. Nobody opens Shopify thinking, today is the day I become emotionally attached to tax regions and order ID formats. But these settings matter because this is where Shopify controls how your store behaves behind the scenes. So from the Shopify admin, I'll go into settings, and the first area I'll check is general. This is where you'll see your business details, store contact details, currency, region, unit system, weight unit, time zone, and a few basic order settings. For the store contact details, I want to make sure the store name is correct, the email address is one I'm comfortable using for customer communication, and the store address is correct for the business. If you're building a real store, don't rush this part because some of this information can appear on customer notifications, invoices, legal pages, and checkout related areas. Then I'll scroll down and check the store defaults. For this demo store, the currency is set to US dollars, and the region and time zone are set for the United States. Yours may be different depending on where your business is based and where you plan to sell. And I'd also check the weight unit because this can affect shipping rates later. Since we're selling physical fitness products, weight matters, especially if you're using calculated shipping or supplier based fulfillment. There's also an order ID format section where Shopify normally uses a simple number format like number 1001, number 1002, and so on. Most beginners can leave this as it is. You don't need to customize every single setting just because Shopify gives you a box. Sometimes the default setting is default for a reason. Further down, you'll see order processing settings. For most beginner stores, I would not automatically fulfill every order unless you're completely sure your fulfillment setup is ready. If you're still testing, using a supplier, or manually reviewing orders, keeping fulfillment manual is usually safer. The last thing you want is Shopify confidently fulfilling orders while you're still trying to remember whether the foam roller actually has inventory. And once the basic general settings look correct, I'll move on. Setting up store policies inside Shopify. Now we need to set up policies. And yes, this is the part of the store that feels very unglamorous, but it's important. Policies help customers understand how refunds, shipping, privacy terms, and contact information work. They also make the store feel more legitimate because a real store should not make customers guess what happens after they buy. So inside settings, I'll go to policies. Here, Shopify gives us areas for things like the return and refund policy, privacy policy, terms of service, shipping policy, contact information, and sometimes legal notice depending on your region. You'll notice Shopify may already automate some things, like the privacy policy, and it may show that other policies are not set yet. For anything that says no policy set, I'll open it and either insert a Shopify template or write my own version based on how the store actually operates. Now, quick disclaimer here. These templates are helpful, but they're not legal advice. So don't just insert a policy and publish it blindly, like you're speedrunning compliance. Read it, edit it, and make sure it matches your actual store. If your return window is 30 days, say that clearly. If used items can't be returned, say that clearly. If customers need to contact you before sending something back, say that clearly too. For Fit Lane Essentials, since this is a fitness product store, I'd pay attention to wording around used products, damaged items, exchanges, refund timing, and return conditions. A yoga mat that has been opened and used is not the same as a sealed product still in its packaging, so your policy should make those expectations clear. Then I'll check contact information as well. In some regions, contact information may be required, especially if you're selling into certain markets. Shopify may let you insert a template here too, or you can write a simple contact section that tells customers how to reach your store. Once the main policies are added, I'll publish or save them, and later I'll make sure they're linked properly in the footer or policy menu, because adding policies inside Shopify is only half the job. Customers still need to be able to find them without playing hide and seek with your legal pages. Setting up shipping and delivery inside Shopify. Next, we need to check shipping and delivery. This is one of the most important setup areas because shipping costs can make or break a sale. A customer can love the product, add it to cart, feel ready to buy, and then checkout shows some confusing shipping cost, and suddenly they vanish like the resistance bands personally offended them. So inside settings, I'll go to shipping and delivery. Here we can manage shipping profiles, delivery zones, shipping rates, package settings, local delivery, pickup, and a few more advanced options. For a beginner store, I'd keep shipping simple. On this demo store, we're using a basic structure where standard shipping costs a flat amount, express shipping costs a bit more, and standard shipping can become free once the order passes a certain amount. If the announcement bar says something like free shipping over $50 or $70, the shipping settings need to match that. Never promise one thing on the homepage and then show something completely different at checkout. I'll open the general shipping profile because this usually applies to all products unless you create separate profiles. Shopify shows which products are included, the fulfillment location, and then the shipping zones. Shipping zone is basically the region where the shipping rates apply. For example, I can have a domestic zone for the United States with a standard rate and an express rate. I can also have an international zone, but I'd be careful with international shipping as a beginner. Just because Shopify gives you a worldwide option doesn't mean you need to sell worldwide on day one. More countries can mean more duties, taxes, delivery times, customer expectations, and support issues. So for this beginner setup, I'd focus on one main shipping region first, get the store working properly, and expand later if it makes sense. When setting rates, I'd make sure the names are clear. Something like standard shipping, 3 to 5 business days, and express shipping, 1 to 2 business days, is easy to understand. Customers do not want shipping options that sound like secret levels in a video game. Once the rates look correct, I'll save the shipping profile and move on. How to set up payments inside Shopify. Now we need to make sure customers can actually pay us. Because unfortunately, Shopify does not accept "I promise I'll pay later" as a business model. So in settings, I'll go to payments. This is where you can set up Shopify payments if it's available in your country, or choose other payment providers depending on where your business is based. On my screen, Shopify payments is shown at the top with a complete setup button. If Shopify payments is available for you, this is usually one of the simplest ways to accept card payments directly through Shopify. You'll need to enter your business details, personal verification details, bank account information, and anything else Shopify asks for. This is one of those areas where you really want to be accurate. Don't guess, don't use fake information, don't type whatever feels spiritually correct in the moment. Payment setup is tied to real money, payouts, verification, and sometimes tax documents, so take your time. Below that, you may see additional payment providers. This is where you can add other options if Shopify payments is not available in your region, or if you want a provider that better fits your business. I'd also check if PayPal is available because many customers like having a familiar payment option. The smoother and more familiar checkout feels, the easier it is for customers to complete the purchase. Then lower down, you'll see payment configuration settings like payment capture, manual payment methods, payment method customizations, gift card expiration, and other options. Most beginners don't need to change everything here immediately. The main priority is simple. Make sure you have at least one reliable way to accept payments, and make sure there are no unfinished setup warnings before launch. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and add a payment provider for this tutorial. I'm gonna choose port one. I'll quickly run through the setup and get back to you because honestly, the exact steps depend on which provider you pick and where you're based. Um, okay, so at this point, our payment gateway is connected, business info is verified, and Shopify's basically given us the green light to start accepting money, which, let's be honest, is the whole point of doing any of this. But having a payment provider connected is only half the story. The other half is the checkout page itself, the actual screen your customer sees when they're about to hand over their card details and commit to buying your product. So let's go take a look at that. So now I'm going to head into the theme editor, and up at the top, there's a little drop down. Right now it says homepage, but if you click it, you'll see a whole list: homepage, products, collections, cart, checkout, policies, and so on. This is basically how you jump between every single page your store has, all from one place. Go ahead and click on checkout. That opens up a live preview of your actual checkout page. This is exactly what your customer sees. Now, don't panic when you see this. It looks like a lot, but most of it is stuff you don't need to touch right now. Notice that your branding has already carried across automatically. Your logo, your colors, your fonts, all the design decisions you made earlier are just here. Shopify didn't forget about you. Let's scroll through the checkout page for a second. Up top, you've got contact, where the customer's email goes. Below that, delivery, name, address, city, that kind of thing, then shipping method, which pulls in whatever rates you set up earlier. And right underneath that, payment. This is genuinely the moment where all that setup we just did pays off. Because now that we've connected a payment provider, this payment section isn't just decoration, it's live. It can actually process a real transaction. Since I've got port one connected for this example, you'll see it show up here as pay via cards/wallets/bank transfer, with all the accepted card logos sitting right next to it: Visa, MasterCard, JCB, and a bunch more, depending on what your provider supports. A few settings menus ago, this was just an empty form. Now it's ready to take somebody's actual money. Right below payment, you'll also see billing address with an option for same as shipping address or use a different billing address. That's just there in case someone's shipping a gift somewhere, but paying with their own card. Completely normal. Nothing to configure on your end. Let's also peek at what happens after someone actually completes an order. Get out the thank you page. You can jump straight to it using that same page drop down at the top. This is the page your customer lands on right after paying, and it's honestly pretty satisfying to look at. Like, you'll see a confirmation number, a little thank you name, and then a full breakdown under order details. Contact info, billing address, and shipping method, all laid out clean. And yes, this page can be customized too. You can add blocks, rearrange sections, whatever you like, the same way we edited blocks on the homepage earlier. But for a beginner store, the default here is genuinely clean and does its job well, so I wouldn't stress over redesigning it on day one. Save that energy for your product pages. The main thing I want you to take away here isn't memorize every button in this editor. It's this. Because we connected our payment provider, this checkout's no longer just a placeholder. It's fully functional. Real orders, real money, real customers. That's the milestone we just hit. One quick tip before we move on. Before you actually launch, it's worth placing at least one test order to confirm everything's working end to end. Most payment providers have some kind of test mode for this, so you're not risking real money just to check the plumbing. We won't get into the weeds of that process here, but just keep it in mind as a pre launch checklist item. Now, one more thing worth pointing out while we're in here. You might also notice a settings gear icon next to the page dropdown. That's a separate area from the block editor, and it's where you control things like your checkout's colors, typography, and layout, stuff like accent color for buttons and links, whether your input fields have transparent backgrounds, and whether you're using a one-page checkout layout. There's also a toggle for address autocompletion, which is honestly a nice little touch. It means your customers can start typing their address, and Shopify will suggest the rest so they're not stuck typing out 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue letter by letter. We're not going to dive into every single one of these settings right now, but just know it exists because that's exactly where we're headed next. Now that we know the checkout actually works, let's go tighten up how it behaves. Head back into Settings Arrow Checkout and let's fine tune how customers move through the buying process. How to optimize checkout settings for your Shopify store. Now I'll go to checkout. This is where we control the customer experience during checkout, and this area matters a lot because checkout is where people are closest to buying. So the goal here is simple: reduce friction. At the top, Shopify shows the checkout configuration. You may see an active store configuration with an edit button. For this beginner setup, I'm not going to redesign the entire checkout experience. I just want to make sure the basics are clear. Under customer contact method, I can choose whether customers check out using email only or phone number or email. For most beginner stores, email is clean and simple because customers need email notifications for order confirmation and shipping updates. I'll also leave customer accounts optional unless there's a specific reason to require them. Requiring customers to sign in before checkout can create extra friction, especially for a new store. If someone is ready to buy a yoga mat, I don't want to interrupt them with, before you do that, please create a tiny online identity with us. Let them buy first, build the relationship after. Then I'll check customer information. Shopify lets you decide whether fields like company name, address line 2, and phone number are required, optional, or not included. For this type of store, company name usually doesn't need to be included. Address line 2 can stay optional. Phone number can also be optional, unless your shipping carrier requires it. Next, I'll check marketing opt-in. This controls whether customers can sign up for email marketing during checkout. If you're going to collect marketing consent, make sure the wording is clear and that it follows the rules for the regions where you sell. Then I'll check tipping. For a normal e-commerce product store, I'd usually leave tipping off. It makes sense for some businesses, but for a home fitness gear store, tipping at checkout might feel a little strange. We're not running a smoothie bar inside the Shopify admin. I'll also check checkout language and advanced preferences. Most of this can stay as the default for now. The key thing is that checkout stays clean, clear, and easy to complete. Once checkout settings look good, I'll save anything that changed. Next, I'll go into taxes and duties. This is where Shopify handles tax regions, tax services, duties, import taxes, and related settings. Now, I'm going to keep this part careful because taxes depend heavily on where your business is located, where your customers are, and what you're selling. Shopify may show tax regions like the United States, Canada, the European Union, the United Kingdom, Australia, and others, depending on your markets and settings. You may also see options like including sales tax in product prices, charging sales tax on shipping, or charging VAT on digital goods. For a beginner, the main thing is to review what Shopify has automatically set up and make sure your selling regions make sense. If you're only selling domestically at first, keep it simple. If you plan to sell internationally, then duties, import taxes, customs information, country of origin, and HS codes may become more important. And if you're unsure about what taxes you need to collect, this is absolutely one of those areas where you should check official guidance or talk to a qualified tax professional. I know that's not the most thrilling sentence in the world, but it's better than confidently setting up taxes wrong and discovering the consequences later when your accountant starts blinking slowly at you. So for now, I'll review the settings, make sure Shopify tax is active where appropriate, check whether any tax regions need setup, and then move on. How to connect a domain in Shopify. Now we need to talk about domains. Right now, the store has the default Shopify domain, which is totally fine while building. But for a real store, you'll usually want a branded domain, something like fitlaneessentials.com, because it looks more professional and is easier for customers to remember. So inside settings, I'll go to domains. Here, Shopify gives you a few options. You can buy a new domain directly through Shopify or connect an existing domain if you already bought one somewhere else. Buying through Shopify is usually the easiest option because Shopify handles most of the setup for you. But if you already have a domain from a provider like Namecheap or GoDaddy, you can click Connect Existing, enter the domain, and then follow Shopify's instructions. If you're connecting an external domain, Shopify will usually ask you to update DNS records. And that might sound scary, but it basically means you're telling your domain provider where the Shopify store lives. Usually, this involves updating records like an A record and a CNAME record. After you connect the domain, it may take a little while to verify, so don't panic if it doesn't instantly turn green. DNS can sometimes take time to update, which is just the internet's way of reminding us that invisible technical plumbing still exists. Once the domain is connected, I'll make sure it's set as the primary domain. That way, customers see the clean branded domain instead of the default myshopify.com address. At this point, the store is basically built, but before sending traffic to it, I'd do one final launch check. I'd open the homepage and make sure the sections flow properly. I'd click the navigation links, open the shop page, check the product pages, add a product to cart, and make sure checkout starts correctly. I'd also confirm that the announcement bar matches the actual shipping settings, the policies are visible, and the footer doesn't have empty social links or placeholder content. Then I'd check the products one more time. Every product should have a real title, a clear description, a price, an image, and the correct collection assignment. If a product is on sale, make sure the sale pricing looks intentional. If something is out of stock, make sure that's handled properly before launch. I'd also make sure payments are set up, shipping rates are active, taxes have been reviewed, policies are published, and the domain is either connected or ready to connect. And of course, save anything that was changed. Because at this point, losing changes would be the emotional equivalent of stepping on a plug. So that's the full beginner setup. We started with a blank Shopify store, added products, created collections, customized the homepage, built out the brand story, added benefits, cleaned up the footer, and then went through the important store settings like policies, shipping, payments, taxes, checkout, and domains. And that's really the difference between just opening a Shopify account and actually building a store. A real store is not just a theme with some products dropped into it. It has structure It has a clear homepage. It has product pages that make sense. It has shipping and payment settings that work. It has policies customers can find, and it gives people enough confidence to actually move from browsing to buying. Now, if you want to try Shopify for yourself, I'll leave the link in the description. Depending on when you're watching, Shopify may have a trial or promotional offer available for new users. So that's a good way to test everything without committing to a full plan immediately. And just to be transparent, that may be an affiliate link, which means I may earn a commission if you sign up through it, but it doesn't cost you extra. Also, if you want help writing your store copy faster, like product descriptions, homepage sections, FAQs, collection descriptions, announcement bars, and all those little pieces of text that somehow take longer than building the actual page, I'll leave the ChatGPT e-commerce prompt pack linked below as well. But that's it for this one. If this helped, make sure to like the video, subscribe for more beginner friendly e commerce and software tutorials, and I'll see you in the next one.